Hello everybody, it's the Scoutmaster Dark Ninja here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to scout on Ghost Town from both sides. I recently 100% marked the Manticore in a platoon, and I had an insane session, and I had two back-to-back games on Ghost Town with very high combined score, and I'm going to use both of those games as an example of how to scout on this map. So we're starting off with the south spawn first. I'm obviously going to take my scouting loadout with CVS so I can spot through these bushes on the 9-0. Now when it comes to initial position on this map, from both sides I like to play in the east, and it's pretty similar positions from both sides which I like to use. The reason why I go east instead of west is because from the west, the really only opportunity to spot is across this gap here. So if you play like in these bushes, you can spot this gap and your team could shoot the heavy tanks. But you really don't get very much combined from that. Whereas on the east side, not only do you spot this cross here, but you can progress the game later on and get full health tanks killed from your snipers back here and here. Whereas on the west side, you're kind of reliant on the enemies peeking like this position here when you're playing this spot for your team to actually damage them. On this side, you aren't as reliant on the enemies having to actually peek. So when it comes to initial position, I like to use a bush, which I'll show you in just a second. This is a bush which I go to in almost all my light tanks. There are actually two initial positions which I like to use, and it somewhat depends on the situation. So in this situation, I'm in a Manticore, which doesn't have the best gun. If I was in like a 13105, then I might use a different position because I have a better gun where I can clip people out. But this is the first position right here. You just sit in this position, and what this position does is it spots this cross right here in the beginning, and your teammates who are right here, which both my platoon mates are, can shoot them. It also spots potentially if a light tank comes up through the bushes. If you have CVS and optics, if they are only in one bush and not in two, then from this position right here, you can spot them from close ranges, like 100 meters or less. It'll also spot if enemies push up the 9-0 line. And lastly, this position will spot this corner right over here where the heavies are. A lot of the time, enemies will play on this corner right here, looking for shots on the 9-0 or shooting into the city. And if you have any teammates who are playing wide out here or in this area here, then they can get side turret shots on those enemies over there, and that's what this position provides. So I've told my platoon mates to pre-aim the 9-0 line. Here you can see I get some initial spots, and we're just bleeding them. Didn't actually spot the bad chat myself, so I don't get the combine for him, but that's okay. Now another tip for this position here, since if the enemy team has light tanks, which in this case they have a 13105, who you want to outlight from this position, then one tip is instead of just sitting inside these bushes just without doing anything, you want to knock over this tree here or this tree here and knock them over so that there's two bushes between you and the enemy, and that will make it so that if you have over 38% camo or 36% if you're not against a light tank, that they won't spot you until proxy, because you have 80% camo from the bushes, because bushes provide 50% camo per bush for like leafy bushes. But the way this game works is you can't get more than 80% camo from bushes. So if you have two bushes stacked together, it will only give you 80% camo, even though each one individually is supposed to give 50%. But then against CVS cuts down the bush's camo from 80% down to 64%. So if you knock over this tree, which gives 50% camo, and you're also sitting in a bush, then that'll give you 80%, and CVS will knock it down to 64%. But if your tank has more than 36% stationary camo, which the Manticore has like 50% camo, then that will give you over a total of 100% camo, and they will not spot you until proxy. Whereas if you're in just one bush, if you're just sitting in, like, for example, this side bush here, and they pull up in this bush line, you have 50% camo, CVS knocks it down to 36% camo. My tank has around 55% stationary camo. 55% stationary camo plus 36% camo from the bush only equals around like 90% camo. And so you don't have 100% camo, and you can get lit before proxy, so they can actually spot you from like a position right here. So yeah, that's why you always, from both sides, because the other side I use a mirrored position like right here. You always want to knock over a tree, or make sure that there's 2 bushes between yourself and where their light tank will be. So that's my first tip for this position. So here I'm just playing this spot, trying to spot them if they progress up the 9-0 line. I'm paying attention to where their AMX 13105 is because I really want to know where he is. And this is kind of how it works from both sides. You want to play passive until you know where their light tanks are, because it's very risky to push up in this bush line, which is the end goal of Ghost Town, is to push up this bush line. You don't want to do that initially if you don't know where their light tanks are. And so I don't know where this 13105 is. He could be in this bush line. I don't want to push into the bush line yet because we will just proxy each other. Because like I explained earlier, if there's 2 bushes between yourself and the enemy light tank, you will not spot each other until proxy. So I'm just playing patient, waiting for their enemy light tank to make a mistake here. You can see I knock over that tree. I know that you can get blinded because of knocking over that tree, but in my opinion, it's still worth it. So in a second here, I'm asking my teammates, by the way, my platoon mates, if they're getting spotted on this corner. Because if they get spotted on this corner, that means that there's a good chance that their light tank is moving up through the bushes, and that's really crucial information for me here. But I'm not really getting any spots, and my platoon mates have informed me. I don't actually remember whether they told me they were getting lit or not, but either way, regardless of whether they're getting lit, pretty much everything on their team has been spotted. The initials have happened. These guys are not pushing up. So I want to get some more out of this instead of playing just passive. So I decided to cross over to this position. This is kind of like the second really good position on this map. If you're in like a 13105 or something with a good gun, instead of coming to this initial position, this is another really good position to use. Just up here on this ridge, you get into this bush here. You get very similar spots. You spot if they push across this open field, just like this other position. It's a little bit worse of an angle. You also spot if they push up the 9-0. It's a little bit more risky because if they push all the way up, then you can get proxied and they can shoot you. But you get also the same spots on that corner right there. So I'm deciding to move up into this bush because I want to get closer to these guys who are on the 9-0 line and see if I can spot them through the bushes. Also just get a different angle. Maybe see if I can get a better angle on where that E75 is playing and get spots on him. From this position, you can also, since there's like a hill, you can shoot. So you spot for yourself, and then you take one shot, and then you pull back into cover, staying reversed in the bush. But if you notice, I don't get spotted crossing this gap here. And I think at this point, my platoon mates tell me that they're not getting spotted. I could be wrong about that. I'm not entirely sure. But since I don't get any lights from that position, I decided to move back here. Just get a different angle again. And there, as you can see, I spot these guys on the 9-0. And from this position, like I said, it's very good for outspotting people who come close into this bush line, and they have a 430U who doesn't have enough camouflage. And so I spot him coming close with CVS. When you're playing in these bushes, you always just want to play backwards so that you're ready to run. And if you ever get spotted here, do not panic. All you have to do, instead of running around like with a chicken cut off head or something, you just need to pull back behind this mound here and just stay safe as best you can from that corner and from this position here. And you're almost always completely safe from those positions, so you don't have to panic. Obviously, you have to watch out for artillery as well. But yeah, this guy gets cut down. They have advanced on the 9-0 with this G-Star 1006, so he's another tank who I'm kind of looking to outspot. And so I know that the 13105 is not going to spot me on this cross because I tested it earlier, but even if he does spot me on this cross, as you can see, like all of their tanks are spotted besides the Yags. I'm pretty sure the Yags aren't on this corner because I didn't spot them earlier. So even if I get spotted on this cross here, I'm not going to explode. I'm just going to get spotted, pull into cover and then get unlit, and so it's not a big deal to make this cross here. It's not risky at all. And since this G-Store has pushed up, now I know that I can actually progress on the 9-0 and outspot him with CVS. And here, I'm making sure I'm trying to double bush him and shoot him. One thing to consider here, like I said, bushes give you 50% camo. So when you're double bush, you get 50% camo from the bush. Now he's 107 meters away from me. If there was only one bush between me and him, I would get 50% camo from the bush, and then I retain about 11% camo when I'm firing, because it's just the value that my tank has for after firing camo. I would get lit from this range if there's only one bush between me and him, so I'm making absolutely sure that there's 2 bushes between me and him before I fire. And if there's 2 bushes between me and him, I will get the 80% camo from the bushes, assuming he doesn't have CVS. And I'll get the 11% camo after firing, which I retain. That'll give me like 91% camo, and from 110 meters, he shouldn't be able to spot me. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not entirely sure whether he'll spot me or not, because it's so close, 100 meters, even with double bushes. But I decide to risk it because I think I think that it's reliable. I'm pretty sure 107 meters is far enough, and so we take him down. Here, I move up to this position here. And right here, I decide to make a risky play. So everything is lit except the Yags. They don't have anything on this corner except potentially the E75. And I decide that I'm going to clear the light tank. I'm pretty sure that he's in this bush line because my teammates are telling me they're getting lit. But since I didn't get lit crossing here, I know that he's not in this side of the bush line. He has to be in this side here, the other side, because he didn't light me. These bushes must have been in the way when I was crossing this gap, and he must be on that side. So instead of approaching through the bush line, going all the way back and approaching like the char did, since I know that there's nobody really watching me right now, even if I get lit, there's only like an E75 and the char to shoot me. Instead of approaching like that, I decide to approach like this, because I know that I'm going to keep these bushes right in front of me, in between myself and the AMX 13105, and I'll just go proxy him and then get safe and cover. So I'm just YOLOing him right now. I'm going to have to get safe from the char after I do this. But I try to clear him, and as you can see, I do not find him. And as you'll see in a second, he was actually here. A second ago, he was spotting my platoon mates. But he actually ran away, and it was just a weird timing where I didn't spot him running, and he didn't spot me. But as you can see, there he is, right over here. He ran away, and I spotted him leaving. Now this comes to the next part of playing Ghost Town, in the light tank. Once you know that the light tank is not here, or you get their light tanks killed, you're able to move up through this bush line slowly, and the end goal is to get to this position where I am right now. From this position, you get spots on this corner, you get spots on this corner as well, and oftentimes you'll be perma-lighting these people. They won't know they're perma-lit, and then they'll peek this corner and then get shot by your platoon mates. You also get deep lights into their base and spawn, and oftentimes will spot TDs. But I'm actually thinking about double bushing this guy, because the E75 and shooting him, because the E75 is not here. I see that their gags are unlit. I'm almost positive, since I didn't light them here, that they are playing in like A4. And there's no one to actually punish me if I do get lit. When you do double bush here, you need to be careful and shoot people, because you can actually use these bushes. Like, for example, if there's no one here, but there are people on this corner, you can use these bushes here, pull back, and then double bush and shoot them here. Or vice versa, you can pull over here and shoot this corner if there's no one on the heavy corner. But what you need to watch out for is A0, because you can't spot A0 from this distance unless it's like a 4005, even with CVS. But they can spot you if you, for example, pull into the open here to shoot the heavies. And then you fire, then A0 will spot you, so just be careful of that. But I'm just paying attention to what's around me. I see that the 1315 is not watching. He doesn't have eyes on me. And I know that I'm far away enough that I can double bush his char and shoot him for free. Now he actually blinds me here. Don't ask me how he hits this, man. His indicator should be telling him that I would shot him from here, but he blinds here anyways. It was really weird. And then he blinds me a second time, which, yeah, I don't know, man. This guy is crazy. But I spot the Wheezy TD pulling up into the open. And we get rid of that char. From here, in the game, how to progress it from this bush line. If there's heavies on this corner, which there usually is, then oftentimes what you want to do is leave this bush line, come over here. Assuming this corner is dead, you want to push up onto A0. But you have to pay attention to what tanks are unlit. So, for example, their Yags are unlit. They could technically have a Yag in A0. Since they're in a platoon, and I haven't spotted either of them, I'm assuming that they're A4, and not A0. Also, a Yag has such bad camo that I could potentially spot him from A0, and he hasn't like fired at any of my platoon mates who are playing on the outside here, so I'm almost positive he's not there. But that's how you progress the game from there. From here, like if their heavies are here and you know there's nothing A0 and you know there's nothing here, you push up this on the red line, and you won't get lit from these heavies if you have good camo. In the Manticore, I would have to be within about 245 meters of a heavy tank in order for them to spot me if I'm in the open field. So I know I can just push across the open here, at least I assume that I can. I don't have to go all the way to A0 because their heavies aren't even on the corner. And right here, I'm just pushing up on this guy to do damage on him. I haven't spotted their Yags. I would spot them at max distance because they have terrible camo, and there's no bushes here that they can be using really. So I know they're not peeking this right now, which is how I know that I can take this shot and push up here without getting spotted. If their Yags come around the corner to shoot me, then I'll spot them early, and I'll know that I have to leave. Well, here, yeah, the 13105 shoots me. Not a big deal. I still have some health. And I can tell that this game is ending. We have a lot of map control. And so right now I just want to play aggressive and get as much as I can out of this game. There's not really much this Wheezy TD can do here. 13105 can technically shoot me. This guy here, as you can see, I don't spot him until 404 meters when he fires. He has a camo net, 100%. That's the only reason I didn't spot him. So I technically could have died there. I guess it was kind of risky to do what I did, but I think it was probably worth the risk. And I decided to push down here and get the artillery. I know the AMX 13105 is in A4 still. And I'm just spotting these guys for my team. There's only 2 tanks left, so it's worth it to play a little bit aggressive and a little bit risky, because if I die, I don't miss out on too much. Try to double bush this guy. Actually lights me somehow. Not entirely sure how, really, to be honest. But I dodge him. And from now on here, it's just clean up, really. As you'll see in the next game, the process of clearing the bushes and playing is very similar from the other side. It's pretty much mirrored. You have this position here to spot in the beginning. You have this position here to get eyes onto the side of the heavies, and I'll show that in a second. Here, take down the 13105. And I'll just quickly show you the post-game stats for this game. It was a really good game. So, I'll spawn. Boom. Here, as you can see, I got 11,000 spotting damage and 2,000 damage. And it was a mastery badge for ace tanker and patrol duty. Pretty fucking amazing game. I'm gonna go quicker on the next game for the other side, but hopefully you learned a lot so far about how to play Ghost Town. So here we are on the other side of Ghost Town, still platooned. This was actually my 100% Mark of Excellence game, which I'll upload to YouTube as a highlight as well. But from the other side, it's basically the same deal. So the first thing I notice, I pay attention to how many light tanks they have. It's also good to see how many mediums they have. The more mediums they have, the better this play is to go on the 9 line, because their mediums will often play on this side, and you can get some initial spotting. It's the same from the other side. There's a position right here where you can get lights. I decided to actually opt for a different position though. I think this position would have been completely fine, especially considering they have 2 light tanks. But I decided that I can play a little bit more aggressive and instead come to this position, which is the mirror of that position there. You get very similar lights from there. I think I might actually stop in this bush. No, I don't. So I just push up here, do a little run. Should have stopped in. I think I should have stopped in this tree realistically. I'm playing like really aggressive here, pushing up on the 9-0. So normally that's how I would play. I think this is actually too aggressive of me. But since I don't get spotted on this cross and I don't spot anything myself, I decided to push up super hyper aggro. And I just play this position. This position here is a mirror of this position here from the other side. And from this position, both these positions, you can get spots onto the heavy tanks. And you can shoot them in the side and then pull back into cover. Again, always play backwards in the bush. But I'm pushed up super aggro, spotting these guys for myself, and then I'm double bushing and shooting them potentially. Looking at the what is spotted and what I've seen so far, it looks like there's probably almost nothing playing on the 9-0 line. All their mediums are spotted already. They're all on the west, which is kind of unfortunate because I don't get to spot them on this side. But yeah, here I get lit, I think, from the off angle here on these guys. But actually, in retrospect, I know that it wasn't that. Instead, what it was they have an RHM in this position here. Again, I'm asking my platoon mates if they're getting spotted on this corner. And you can pay attention. If your heavy tanks are taking damage on this corner or on this corner, then oftentimes that means that there's a light tank in the bushes. But I spot their TDs. I'm just playing this position here. About 35. And another thing that you can do from this position is if someone peeks on this corner, it's like around 70 meters. If they don't have CBS, they won't light you if you have really good camo, but you'll light them. Unless it's a light tank. If there's 2 bushes between you and them, like I said, it's proxy, so you won't spot a light tank on this corner since there's more than 2 bushes. But I'm not spotting anything. This Yag keeps peeking. It looks like he's gonna blind me, so I pull backwards. And as you can see, my grill has moved up on the 9 line, which gives support into these deep positions in their base that I can spot, which is really good. That was a weird bounce. I have no clue how that bounced. It was green. But I'm still getting spotted, and if you pay attention, he was stunned, and I still got spotted anyways. And that gives me the thought that I'm getting lit by the light tank, not by the tank destroyers. And plus, at 420 meters, if you shoot inside of a bush, the bush, even if it's not double bushed, you retain some of the camo from the bush. In the case of the Manticore, it's about 10% camo from the bush. And I also already have 11% camo after firing, plus he's stunned. He would not light me even if he did have direct line of sight on me and wasn't stunned. Like, even if he wasn't stunned, he wouldn't light me anyways. Because you retain around 10% camo from the bush when you fire with a 105 caliber gun, even when it's not double bushed, which is something that not very many people know about. I've made a video about it on the past. If you want to watch that, you can ask me about it in the comments, and I'll link it in the description about retaining camo after firing inside of a bush when it's transparent. But either way, here I decided to make an aggressive play. I think this is a kind of stupid play. I'm trying to clear this RHM because I think he's here. I don't actually get spotted though. So I just continue in the bush line. Again, I don't think this was actually a very smart play. If their RHM was like right out here and he wasn't peeking here and I wasn't spotting him earlier, he could have spotted me on this cross right here. And they have a bunch of TDs. They could have actually deleted me. So I think I didn't actually play this very well. But it ends up working out anyways. And now I just extend to the very end bush and get the deepest vision possible. As you can see, there was a RHM. I was pretty lucky not to get spotted by him. I should have known that he was still in the bushes or that he possibly had ran. Just because of my platoon mates and my team still getting shot by the TDs. And because of the information I got earlier where I was getting lit here when I was firing. I should have known that. But I didn't pay attention enough, and I didn't know that he was still there. But here I'm getting deep vision onto the Foch, getting vision onto the Progetto. My team has moved up all the way on the 9-0. I asked Def to move up on the 9-0 to get better shots than from over here on like the side of the city and stuff, which I'm spotting. So this Progetto is going down, this Yag is going down, the E5 is trying to run away. Here I think about going for a shot. The reason why I decided to shoot here is because I know that this guy was not peeking in the corner because he just fired, and I knew that he had pulled back, so I decided to go for a double bush shot here. That's another thing that I noticed in light tanks is people, especially when you're solo playing, you need to be going for damage in your light tanks. You can't just only be going for spotting damage. A lot of the time you need to spot for yourself. But here, there's no way I'll get lit by the Rhino, even if he was in the open to me. If there's someone like close in the corner, then they might be able to light me, but there's nobody. So I decided to push up on this tank destroyer, flank him. There's the T100. I just ignore him. Going for this Foch. The Foch is turned. Luckily, he doesn't shoot me. There we go. I really want to clear the corner because if once I clear the corner, then I can my teammates can push up and I can progress the game a little bit more. Unfortunately, here I get set on fire, which destroys my engine and my ammo rack and my fuel tank. So I'm going to be slow for the rest of this game. I can see that the game is ending. We've successfully cleared the 9-0. And so I want to get as much out of this game as I can, possibly. So I'm playing aggressive here. Spot the 4K on their ridge. Get some spotting on him. And I decide to cut underneath them and just stay out of line of sight so I don't get a lot of spotted by them. I see that they still have a lot of tanks on the 9-0 who I can spot. Now when I'm doing this, I need to be careful of up here. They could have rotated back with one of their mediums and they could be playing in here. But the fact that I didn't see anybody peek this corner here earlier tells me that there's very unlikely to be somebody here because people were getting spotted over here on my team, including myself, and nobody peeked from here. So I'm assuming that there's nobody there right now. So I'm just pushing up underneath, trying to get spots on the 1-2 line. About this 140. I'm thinking about double bushing this guy and shooting him through this bush here, but I can see on the map that I'm within view range of this area up here where the Leo is, and so I decide against it because I would get lit since I'm completely in the open. Here the Leo is getting farmed, and we have info on everything except for the Badger. Now right here, you can see that their 140 is still here, and if I come across the open, you would think he would light me. But what I do here is I go a little bit wide. Arguably, I didn't go wide enough. I'm 240 meters away from this guy. I should have went a little bit wider, like this instead, and kept myself at least 250 meters away from that 140, so he's guaranteed doesn't spot me. And I'm just trying to close the distance on these bushes to spot them. Basically my whole team is going to have shots. And I know that the Badger must be up here somewhere along with their TVP. I CVS the Badger through the bush. Bought the TVP as well, and I'm just getting full spotting on these guys. There we go. That's the game right there. 100% mark of excellence. This is inaccurate. So yeah, let me quickly show you the post-game stats for this game. So here we go. 8.5k spotting, 1.5k damage, 10k combined. Pretty great game. I think, like I said, I made some mistakes this game, but I didn't end up getting punished for it. But yeah, these games just classic examples of how to clear the 9 line on Ghost Town. And so hopefully you've learned a lot about how to play on Ghost Town and how to progress the game through the bushes, and little tips and tricks on how to play the bushes and the positions over there. I know that I had 2 platoon mates to support me, which definitely helps a lot, but all of these tips and tricks and all these positions work exactly the same if you're solo pubbing. You just won't get as much combined because you won't have as many guns supporting you, but all of the same tactics still apply. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm going to have a whole lot of highlights of Manticore coming up on my YouTube for my Twitch, twitch.tv/darkninja___ if you want to watch me play live some light tanks or whatever. Yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.